Look closely at these clusters as they ripen. On one end of the spectrum, you have massive, bright green orbs. On the other, tiny, tightly packed dark purple spheres, or even speckled red berries. The physical differences are staggering. These physical traits dictate their exact purpose. Those large, plump green varieties are engineered to be sweet and crisp, ideal for snacking. But those tiny, dark, thick-skinned berries are often highly astringent, packed with tannins and acids that make them terrible to eat raw, but perfect for producing complex, long-lasting wines. But here is the biological catch. Despite looking and tasting like entirely different fruits, almost every commercial grape you eat or drink comes from the exact same botanical species, Vitis vinifera. This creates a constant tension. A single species is trying to survive across wildly different environments, and a vine's survival is geographically locked. A specific variety that thrives in the baking, arid heat of central Spain will catastrophically fail if you try to plant it in the damp, freezing hills of Germany. The final form of a grape goes far beyond its baseline DNA. It is a hypersensitive physical reaction to the exact patch of dirt, sunlight, and weather where the vine is rooted. Above ground, a vineyard is essentially an open-air battleground. Vines are completely exposed to the elements, and to survive, they must structurally adapt to the intense environmental pressure of their local weather. When a vine is planted in a scorching, high-heat climate, its biggest threat is dehydration. To protect its internal moisture from evaporating in the sun, the plant biologically adapts by growing exceptionally thick skins around each berry. At the same time, these hot weather vines will push out massive, dense canopies of leaves. The goal here is to create a thick umbrella, shading the delicate fruit clusters from lethal sunburn. Take that same species and plant it in a cool, cloudy region, and the biological strategy flips entirely. To compensate for a lack of energy, the vine grows very thin-skinned grapes to maximize their absorption of whatever weak, limited sunlight manages to break through the clouds. But that thin skin leaves the fruit highly vulnerable to rot and mildew. To keep them dry and warm, viticulturists, the farmers managing the vines, must aggressively prune away the leaves, intentionally exposing the hidden fruit to the sun. The thickness of the skin and the density of the leaves are direct architectural defenses. The plant deploys them specifically to counter the exact climate threats of its home. Below the surface, the story is driven by the root system. And here we find two very different underground environments: dark, nutrient-rich topsoil on one side, and deep layers of jagged rock and dry gravel on the other. You might assume the rich soil produces the best fruit. However, premium viticulture operates a highly counterintuitive rule. High-quality grapes require the vine to experience severe biological struggle. When you plant a vine in that highly fertile soil, it has easy access to everything it needs. The vine becomes lazy. It develops a shallow root system and pumps out massive quantities of large, watery, and ultimately bland fruit. But when you plant it in poor, rocky gravel, a survival mechanism takes over. To find scarce water reserves, the vine is forced to push its roots down dozens of feet, hunting deep through the bedrock. Pushing through solid rock takes an immense amount of energy. Because the vine is working so hard underground, it has very little energy left over to grow fruit, which drastically drops the overall yield of the plant. This constant state of water stress ensures that the few grape clusters the vine does manage to produce are packed with highly concentrated sugars and incredibly complex flavor compounds. It takes extreme biological stress beneath the surface to act as the catalyst for flavor density above the surface. Step back from a single plant and look at the rigid, human-designed grid of a modern vineyard. You see perfect rows, but out in nature, a grapevine is actually a chaotic, sprawling weed. If you left a vine completely wild, it would creep aimlessly along the ground. The grapes would sit in damp soil, leading to rot and terrible fruit development. To harness this growth, viticulturists use specialized trellising systems. They wrap and tie the vines along metal wires, forcing that sprawling weed into highly specific three-dimensional architectural shapes. This forced geometry mathematically maximizes the airflow between the leaves and captures precise sun angles based on exactly what that specific varietal needs to ripen. Human cultivation provides the final structural boundary. It takes a wild plant and forces it into a calculated shape, so it can survive and bear specialized fruit. Look at a single harvested grape sliced open, entirely removed from the vineyard environment. This small sphere functions as a biological recording instrument. It holds a physical memory of the exact environment it survived. Its thick skin tells the story of baking summer heat. Its small size and dense sugars point to a brutal struggle through deep, rocky bedrock. Even its shape hints at the precise wire grid that kept it breathing in the wind. To eat this grape is to ingest a highly specific biological map of a single place on Earth.